Hey everyone, this is Unit 9.5. We're going to talk about some partitions and line segments. So I'll be using some ratios and fractions, and we'll be using some of the coordinate geometry methods of slope that we talked about in previous lessons in 9.3. So if you're talking about a directed line segment, what really matters is, based on the ratios you have, what's the initial point? So like in the case for this one, A was the initial point. But in the case for this one, A is the initial point, but they switched where P was. So you're going to want to look for, and also remember how many parts there are. So if you have a ratio 1 to 3, there are actually 4 parts to the segment, and that total is going to be important as we do some questions. So you can look through some of the examples here, and they want us to write the ratio out. So they said B is the initial point. So like in the case of A, well, we got 2 parts to P, and then 3 parts after. So this would be a ratio of 2 to 3. And again, I'm going to write down how many parts there are because we're going to use that later when we try to figure out points. For B, this would just be 1 to 1. And again, there's 2 parts to the line. It's broken into 2 separate parts. And then for the last one, it's going to be 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 1 to 5 ratio, and there's 6 parts in the line. So that'll help you with the beginning parts of this assignment. And now we're going to look at how to find, on a coordinate grid, a section that's partitioned. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the back page. Okay, you'll see an example above you can look through. So what we're going to have to do is this, and I'll have some scrap graph paper, but I'm going to do little sketches over here for like the first one. So I'll just do a little coordinate grid, and it helps to graph them. It'll really help to graph. So like -5, 2, and again, I'm just making estimates of this, and then 3, 6. So I'm just going to draw a sketch of that segment. So they want a ratio of 1 to 1. So in that case, the ratio is 1 to 1, which means there are 2 parts. And the first part, after the first part, is where we want to put that point, which we'll call P. So it's going to fall, in this case, somewhere in the middle. So what you want to do, kind of like the formula says above, it says A is the first point, so we're starting at A. And our scale factor in this case, because there's 2 parts we want 1 point in, is going to be half. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to use A, which is -5, and we're going to do half of the run. So in that case, to get the run, you would have to subtract the x value. So how many spaces over to the right? In this case, it's 8 spaces. And then for the y value, you do 2, because that's our y value, plus 1/2, and then the rise. So for our rise, we want 8 spaces for the run. Our rise is 4 spaces. So what you want to do next is put each of these 2 expressions in the calculator, and that'll give you the final point where P is going to end up. So with this part here, we're going to end up with -1 for -5 plus 1/2 times 8. And the other part we're going to end up with is 4. So that's going to be point P. So -1, and I'll put that in a different color, -1, 4, out here. And again, it's going to be halfway. It's a 1 to 1 ratio. That's where our point will end up for this. So what I'd like you to do is try 3 on your own, and then have me come over and check your work for you.